I have a lot of things that really would be better to do with my time than talk to you about this kind of bullshit and drama that takes place on the internet. But, to a certain extent, I just wanted to, air my frustrations, and that was really all this video was about a lot of the bullshit drama that, I have to deal with. I have in the past made the mistake of showing you a little bit too much of what happens on my screen to the point where people were able to figure out my email addresses, and I started to get emails from an alleged, Ryan Upchurch person who was basically sending hate mail in my direction. And, I didn't know who Ryan Upchurch was. I just got all these like emails that where this guy was like flexing about how he got a million views. And the first thing, as somebody that's been online for a long time, that went through my head was essentially, how do I know that this guy is who he claims to be, instead of just somebody trying to stir up drama? So Ryan, if you're out there and I'm shit talking you and you didn't actually fling shit in my direction for real, then apologies in advance for everything I want to say here. But I was never much of a fan of country music. In fact, like I think probably my earliest memories of becoming aware of the scene was probably traced back to a night that my family spent at Godfather's Pizza, and we went, and I'd always been kind of a picky eater, so I didn't really, I just munched on like goldfish, at the place and their snack crackers and such while they ate. But I went and somebody went onto the jukebox and actually requested "Achy Breaky Heart," really really old country song. And up until that point, none of us had even heard, like at least I hadn't heard anything that was associated with country music at all. Like my background, and I know that it's a little bit, a little bit like I wouldn't necessarily want to brag about it because it's become a little bit of a guilty pleasure to still be into it. But like I grew up on Amy Grant, and people like her, and like Roxette, and 80s music was probably part of the earliest parts of my childhood, and like Wilson Phillips and whatnot. I mean, those were the artists that we were basically watching lots of. And I mean, like, I'll be really fiercely honest with you, especially since one of my projects of late has been all about how to love yourself, even if which, by the way, I will link in the underbar. Where one of the things they suggest is to be really brave about what you actually like. And I have developed an eclectic taste in music, because of the fact that I've been into it for so long. And this is what the artist says: I used to get dirty faces when I opined about how much I liked Britney Spears' song "Toxic." I'm fond of the slick music video coupled with the angular strings and slamming beats. Britney's voice wasn't bad either. I didn't approve of her recent lifestyle choices, but true to my heart, that song was a masterpiece. That song, by the way, in particular, was coined and written by somebody that I really admire, who you all have kind of forgotten about because she's part of the old world. But you can look her up. Kathy Dennis actually started selling songs that she wrote, and you can actually see that she is the original because she made a demo for her, which I have no problem putting in Notepad so that I can, put in the underbar here. But yes, it is her song. She sold it to them. Very, very famous back then in the '90s. This is the stuff that I grew up on, and not surprising, but the local radio, at some point played the Human League. It played a song, and I'm gonna have to paste this into Notepad so that I can put this all on the underbar. But it played a song by the Human League, "Tell Me When." This one, which I have no problem putting in the underbar for you to pursue on your own, because I don't want to, make a 20-minute video about all of it. But yep, there you go. I grew up so more or less not, and not only that, but these guys were pretty big when I was a kid. Real McCoy. So the dance scene, you know, touched us when we were very young. Up here where I'm from, which also linked, for the underbar of this video, just putting in a notepad. So by the time Ryan Upchurch came along, I had been amenable to, where the dance music scene touched, the industrial scene, and it fused into Front 242, and then eventually became Assemblage 23 and V&V Nation. And that was kind of the basis of much of what I listened to today. I mean, so I listen to, obviously women's music. One of my favorite, absolute all-time faves from a female musician, Kathy Dennis's Too Many Walls, from all the way back in 91. And I think it's only too bad that she figured out that she made more money selling her work to other artists, because she was incredible. I mean, we really miss her. And, you know, so my taste in music had been, women's music and basically industrial and goth, basically both. That's like 85% of what I listen to. So it's like, yeah, there are guys in it, but there are men like, Trent Reznor, Tom Shear, Ronan Harris. You know, those are the kinds of people that I listen to. So when Ryan Upchurch starts sending me these emails from like way out in the heart of Dixie, in the southern part of the country that, obviously I was born in, as a native of Oregon, my brain is thinking, who the fuck is this kid? And he's bragging about how he's basically slept with Katie Knoll, only they've been through this breakup. And they're all talking about it, and everybody's, all up in it. And I'm like, why are these people spilling their business with me? Like, I don't know who any of them are. I literally met these people all collectively about a couple days ago. You know, I haven't been aware of them at all. Apparently, the guy had managed to, get, 1 million views up on YouTube, but it was kind of like, oh, that's hardly shocking. This platform is, pretty much universally wrong about everything, always, all the time. I mean, honestly, to be honest with you, most of what goes on YouTube disgusts me. I think it's Mos Eisley, and that, and I'm willing to stand up here and tell you all this and make a video about it. I think that most of you are honestly horrible people. So it doesn't bother me that a couple million of you, managed to have trashy enough taste to actually like, shit music like Ryan Upchurch. And I know that you'd tell me that I wouldn't recognize a tune, but I mean, let's look at like what he, which I'm also willing to say what I want to say about all this, in the underbar. She's not really my type, to say the least. And I can show you, what somebody that's a little bit more my speed would actually look like. I want you to, and I want you to actually, to realize what I would actually be like envious of, not her, you know. So, basically, we were raised on, and aware of things like Pinhead. So you can see Pinhead, the really harsh industrial kids, that like agrotech music. And like I'm looking through some of the stuff that I wrote over the past couple of days. No, maybe more. Here to. I'm sorry that it's taking me so long to show you, like somebody that's a little bit more my speed as far as, a member of the opposite sex. It's just that I haven't I've been posting a lot, so I have to go through all this. Might as well just look up, the women of EBM, the EBM scenes would probably be a little bit more up to speed to, and prototypical of what I was actually into, and we're having to deal with basically, Ryan Upchurch trying to grieve me about what he's actually, managed to sleep with, and it's kind of amusing because like not really my speed, not really my type, and honestly, I look down on Southern culture. I always have. I find like Dixie to be a little bit trashy, to be honest with you. I'm aware Nashville is capable of actually, showing us some like true culture and like truly classy stuff, but people like him, there we go. People like him are, ultimately the ultimately very much so, and her are ultimately very much so the Duck Dynasty trashy culture that I have always had a profound distaste for. And even looking at the scenes and everything that they're trying to show off about like diesel trucks and jeeps and like I am face palming. I'm trying to be nice because I'm ostensibly a feminist, but oh my god, not my type. And the reason why is that I consider a lot of this stuff to be just trashy. It's the very culture that I consider myself a little bit too sophisticated, a little bit too, advanced to really interact with, and people. They would take deep offense to my saying it, but that's how I feel. I'm not one of those people. So, like, I don't know why he wanted to email me about this stuff and why he wanted to harass me and interact with me and whatnot. Because me and him and his world and my world would just never actually collide with each other naturally unless he confronted me directly and started wanting to spew shit in my direction. It would not happen. So finally, if you want to hear something that's a little bit more what I tend to listen to, that'll be the final link in the underbar, which is, so yes, my taste in music does not sound like the taste of an American. Thank you, internet. I did all the work in pursuing some of these artists. I did what I had to not have to rely on the radio, to not have to rely on Fuse or TV or any of that stuff, and to just pursue these artists directly. And so my taste in music sounds nothing like any of my neighbors, anything like anybody else I know. It's very unique, but it's not like anybody else's that I know. And I would never appreciate somebody like Ryan Upchurch. It would never happen. He's not really my kind. Neither is his freaking girlfriend or any of these people. It's kind of pathetic, really. Some guy wants to flex his nuts about that he slept with somebody, and I'm so low born and low status that would never happen. Never mind that my partner, I finally after all this time heard her voice, and I'm saving up basically to relocate. I've got a business of my own, dude. Like, finally, the realization of a dream that's been going on for a very long time. The realization of something that I've wanted for a very long time. So to all you, assholes and dipshits that have dogged my channel for a very long time, you don't bother me anymore.